Shoo!
It's hard work.
Man, this is hard.
This is hard work, man. There's too much to remember.
We're producerless today.
Which means we're completely helpless on our own. So,
I got gum.
It's better than having other things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Where are we?
I don't know, but let's roll credits right now.
Do it. This is number 13.
Lucky number on Friday the 13th.
On Friday the 13th.
No wonder we're having so much trouble.
What are the odds of that?
Oh, man. Man, we had, the last one, we had all that tech issues loading it up.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That was crappy.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, today's been hell.
Whew.
Wow.
Whew.
Friday the 13th, Web of Podcast episode number
13, yeah.
Goodness
crazy.
Gracious. Good thing we're not into that numerology stuff.
And there's a full moon.
Full moon.
Yep.
Got it all.
Man. Hey, but the cool thing is it's my sister's birthday today, so happy birthday, sister.
Hey. 5 days ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Whenever that was.
Yeah. Happy birthday, sis.
But, yeah, all rose on the 13th.
Yeah. Wow. Who's our guest today, Monty?
Dave Fowler.
Dave Fowler.
Dave Fowler.
Bass player, tour manager, producer to the stars.
Dude does everything, man.
Yeah,
he is a man on the go.
We got, you know what? We've got some pretty talented friends.
Yeah.
And man, they got.
Why?
I don't know. We'll have some good talking today, though, with Dave. Because Dave, even he says, hey, I've got a lot to say. And so we'll probably just have to feed him and let him go.
I'm just going to sit
go
over
to
there
and
and
make a sandwich and let him talk.
Just let him go. We'll just point him at the camera there and hit the go switch. Yeah, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Guy's everywhere.
He is. I got something to say to you. I don't know if you saw it. Gavin Newsom, the mayor to the stars, or the governor to the stars.
Governor to the stars, yeah.
Out there in California. See, he's trying to get... Did you see that gig bill, the gig law they're trying to pass?
No. Enlighten me on this one.
I saw this today in the trades that... and it's probably done already by the time this airs because he was going to just get it through. They're turning independent contractors into employees.
What?
Which means those companies will have to have insurance and all that kind of stuff for independent contractors. So where it pertains to us, I mean, the truckers are pissed, the movie people, because that's all independent stuff, like the catering folks, everything that comes, So basically what they're saying now is like once this goes through, like say United Artists or whoever who's filming a movie, whatever, they'll have to make that caterer an employee and, all these other companies that service those industries. So the music people have stepped up and said, here we come, New York and Nashville. Because when it comes to, session musicians and, because, when you get called to do a session, you're an independent contractor, basically.
Yeah, work for
hire.
hire.
You come in, exactly. You come in, you do your job, they give you a thing, and you're gone. But now they're saying if this thing goes through, from what I gather, if anybody has more information, correct me where I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. But they will have to, make them an employee.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not. So, as if Nashville's not crowded enough already. We're experiencing a big land rush here in Nashville. They discovered gold somewhere out here, I guess. But it's only going to get worse.
So now, wait a minute now, because you go down Broadway, all of those clubs, all of those musicians working in those clubs are work for hire.
Well, it's only for California, though.
But you're talking about them coming to Nashville?
Well, I'm talking about like Capitol Records and all their offices out there and stuff and all those studios and stuff.
Oh.
They said, here we come, New York and Nashville, unless they can get an exemption. Now, the list of exemptions is crazy. I can't remember. There's a lot of exemptions, but in fact, the truckers were so pissed they surrounded the Capitol. Did you see that?
No,
Yeah, I just saw that.
I missed all that.
Yeah, it was in one of the music trades, and they just referred to that. They didn't cover that story because they were just talking about the impact on the industry. So yeah, and old Gavin, he's trying to get it done, man. He's trying to get that thing.
Hope you got lots of Vaseline out there, y'all.
I guess the thing that started it was like there was a big company out there once, like I guess when Obamacare was doing its thing and stuff, they decided to make all their employees independent contractors, so they wouldn't have to tote that note,
right? Because it would bury them.
Basically, the company could stay open and they could. I mean, once again, you wonder, it's just so willy nilly. And I know, you got a lot of roots out there. We all do. You've only been away a couple of years, but man, it just makes it feel even better, huh?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's what they're saying. All the music stuff, instead of calling up a guitar player to play a part, they're gonna, they'll go online, they'll find some, loop program or whatever, and start doing that. Doing all their music on the laptop, like music wasn't bad enough already.
Right, there you go. Why?
So there you go.
Why?
There you go. Just be glad we're not in California.
Dang, man.
Yep. And Tennessee's going to go, hey, sweet, come on. They keep bringing them in, man. Just bringing them in by the truckloads. 100 people a day? Was that the...
That was the last number. That was last year.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Well, it seems to have kind of plateaued a little bit.
Well, there's no room.
Yeah.
They can't build fast enough.
Well,
or high enough.
Hopefully they'll keep going south down.
All you see are cranes.
Murfreesboro will be a part of Nashville, because there's still space there. A
little bit.
They'll go out to 840 and fill it all
right.
But I know. I mean, there's no state tax here in Tennessee. I remember when we first came. Oh yeah. Oh, it's awful. You don't want to come. The weather is terrible. It's just awful out here. Stay away.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
We're full.
Yeah. So that's.
I was the last one in.
You were the last one in. You closed the door behind you, didn't you?
I slammed that sucker, baby.
So I'm surprised, but Blaylock hasn't weighed on it. But this is all pretty fresh. I just saw it this morning.
Well, hopefully he'll get a report in for us.
Yeah. So we did his crazy California report.
That's hard to do because there's a whole lot of it, so it's hard for Jim to kind of wrangle onto one subject.
Right.
So
well, this shows what happens when you do the knee-jerk legislation. Is like, oh, this is bad. Those poor people now, they don't have insurance and stuff. We need to do something about that. So they go ahead and try to do something like this, and there's all these unintended consequences because they don't do their due diligence and find out what's going on, But yeah, I mean, all of those truckers, all those independent truckers, like a company like Swift or whatever, or whoever that hires,
they've already been hugely impacted. By the the smog and all that stuff.
Yeah. Right. All the cab overs are gone. All those trucks.
Environmental impact stuff.
Oh, it's bad.
Anyway.
Well, once again, the old Web Podcast episode goes dark.
Oops. Sorry. It just happened.
Well,
it just happened.
We'll just have Dave bring some light to us.
That's it.
Right.
He's coming.
Right after this.
Right.
You're my one temptation, the one I can't refuse. My one and only weakness is you. If you ever tell me that I have to give you up, it's just gonna kill me, 'cause I can't live without your love.
Dave Fowler! Yes! Dave, thank you for being here, man.
And thank you guys for having me.
Oh,
I'm very
man,
grateful to you for
we are
asking me to
stoked.
come out, man. Yeah.
Monty's hoping some of that bass mojo.
I'm trying to just absorb that bass mastery into my pores, man.
Well,
this dude is BA.
Well,
Yeah.
bless your heart, man. I'm an old guy that's been doing it a long time. And I've been very fortunate, as you know. I've been able, and until I do something like this with guys like you, I never really, I'm just working. You know what I mean? I don't think about all the things I've done until I sit down with guys like you. And
I've got the paper right here.
He's gonna remind you.
I took
Oh,
notes
no.
for our tens of watchers that don't know who you are. Let's see, Dave. Let's start. I'm just going to list everybody. Dave is a producer, a manager, a unbelievable musician, session player, and road musician. So I'm just going to throw out these names here that he has either been on a session for or played on the road with. And generally, the road gigs, you were wearing 2 or 3 different hats. I mean,
sometimes.
I mean, and there were some big, heavy hitters when he was the man with, that people can't. He was like the anus, so to speak, right, where it all settled right where you were on big tours. But let me say some of these names. First of all, we'll start Statler Brothers.
That my very first gig in Nashville was with Helen Cornelius. She was the opening act for the Statlers for like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And I came into the second year, I think, and did a couple of years with them. And out of that relationship, I developed a very strong friendship with Jimmy Fortune, and wound up producing Jimmy's Christian record. And if I'm not mistaken, I sure don't want to give false information, but I believe that's been his largest selling record that he's ever done.
That's awesome.
And we were real blessed. We cut it in a basement, and we just got it just lined up. The players,
you get the talent,
song.
and you don't need the tools, right?
Well, as you know, both of you guys, when you make a record, man, it's as much about knowing who to call for the specific jobs.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
Right.
It's just who to call that's going to give you what you need without having to stand over them with a stick. They just kind of know what they're doing. It's
Right,
like,
right.
you guys are great musicians. You know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. You find that vibe that you're looking for. That player is the one that brings it.
Yeah. Dottie
West.
Man, I got a great story on how that came to be. I was going back and forth. I was going through the worst time of my life. I was going through a divorce. I was going through a real difficult time, and I was playing at a nightclub in South Carolina, ironically enough, for Helen Cornelius's husband, who owned a club down there, and he would hire me, and it was worth going, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to go down there and play, come back to Tennessee. Well, I'd found out that Dottie was auditioning bass players, and I don't remember how exactly that I got in on it, but I drove. I basically got selected to audition. Drove all the way back overnight from South Carolina from the club for my audition spot on Sunday. and it was snowing. The weather was not good. I drove through. And I basically listened to and learned a great deal of the material from my audition on my drive back on very little to no sleep. And I show up for my audition, and I can hear him in there. Steve Bryant's in there playing. And I'm so discouraged at that point. I'm like, you know what? I might as well go home. And I was that close. I talked myself into just leaving and just ditching the audition, because Steve was in there killing it. You know how great he is. He's unbelievable.
He's no Dave Fowler.
And, well, thank God for that. And I have so much respect for Steve, because I used to watch him play when he was with Jerry Reed in the day.
Yeah.
And Jerry being one of my all-time favorite artists.
Sure.
And Steve just, he's unbelievable. He's one of my very favorite bass players and one of my favorite people. And man, I almost left. And then as I was about to leave, I got mad at myself. I was like, you know what, you idiot? I was like, you've already been through hell to get here. the least you can do is go in and play.
That's right.
And I'll be dang, I got the job. I couldn't believe it when they called me.
Yeah.
That's the Dottie West story, and I enjoyed. I only got to be with Dottie almost a year, 8 months, maybe 10 months, but I loved her very much. She loved good musicians, and the band was it was intimidating to play in that band because they were freaking really good.
Yeah.
And I really made a valid effort to learn Steve Marshall's parts so that the transition, even if I were lucky enough to get the job, that it would be
Sure.
what she would be kind of used to.
Yeah.
I was nowhere near the player he was, but I really tried to zone in on how he approached her music, and it helped me get the job.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Okay, and then we got Rhett Akins.
Yeah,
That's
Rhett.
Thomas Rhett's daddy.
It is. It is. I just ran into Rhett not long ago. I haven't seen Rhett in years. I worked with. It was ironic because I'd been with Lori Morgan from '88 to '95. I'd been there about 7 years.
Well, I got her way down farther on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was working with Lori. I'd been there, and man, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not what you might call a good planner, other than when I have my tour manager britches on.
Right.
You know, when I feel like my time is done somewhere, job or no job, adios.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on.
Sure.
And I was at that point with Lori.
Okay.
I felt like I had done all I could do with her and for her.
How long were you there? 7 years?
7 years.
7 years, yeah.
I was there before Keith died. I got to know Keith pretty well.
Wow.
And Keith once told Lori to hang on to Dave. He said, he's your guy,
Oh, cool.
which meant a lot to me. In a weird way, after spending a little time with Keith after she first hired me, he gave his stamp of approval for me, which I always appreciated knowing that.
Yeah.
And so that was I consider a big feather in my hat.
Absolutely.
Because I loved Keith. Keith just had some demons that he couldn't
Sure.
control, man.
Sure.
And he wanted to, he desired to, but he couldn't get a hold of them.
So, man, we ain't even close to being through this list, and we got to take our first break. Man,
Okay.
just like that. You know,
Well,
this is extensive.
I'm bad to ramble on, so you have
No,
to
but
chop me off the knees.
rambling
too,
is
man.
great, man.
Yeah,
It ain't rambling. That stuff that, you know, our fans, they want to know that stuff.
Well, cool,
you know? We
man.
try to tell them everything. So,
Cool, brother.
quick break. Dave Fowler when we come back.
Great.
Well, it's always thirsty weather, wherever or whenever. Neither rain or ice or dark or nice is gonna keep us from our rain. When it's hot, we need a cold one. When it's cold, we want a warm up. Yeah, Mother Nature is always in our favor. And right now it's thirsty weather. It's all-
Back with Dave Fowler, bass master to the stars. Talking about Rhett, Thomas Rhett's daddy.
Yep. I was saying at the end of the last segment that I'd been with Lori from '88 to '95, and at the end of '95, I mean at the end of '95, like New Year's Eve, end of '95. I got a call from Narva Blackstock, who at that time was managing, of course, Reba. He was still married to Reba, and he was managing this new guy, Red Akins. So he called me. He goes, "Hey man," he says, "what you got going on?" He goes, "What's it going to cost me to hire you away from Lori?" And that's what you want to hear.
Right.
So, well, funny you should ask. Because I really did feel like my time was up. And I just felt like I needed to change, or I needed to move on. And I actually went with Rhett for half the money I was making with Lori, but twice the work. I was still single.
Yeah.
I was going to make the same money, and we were going to be the opening act on the Reba tour that whole year, which was a 21 tractor trailer tour.
Wow.
With the stage and everything. It's 21
Yeah.
trucks.
Nice.
And yeah, sign me up. That's where do I start?
Yeah.
You know? So I went in and we put his band together, and I have to this day I have a great relationship. I just ran into Rhett not long ago at SIR, and at that time he hadn't had any songwriting success at that time.
Wow.
Now he's like, well, he's one of the cats
He's
now.
one of the dudes, yeah.
But I got a chance to tell Rhett just a few weeks ago when I ran into him how much I appreciated how good he was to me, because he basically spent every nickel he made on the road paying his band and his crew and keeping the bus
That's so
rolling.
cool.
He didn't make no money, dude.
Yeah.
He couldn't have. There's
You know
no
what, too?
way.
You guys, that was a good band.
It was
That
a good little band.
And you had
It
cool
was,
arrangements
man.
of his songs. I remember I saw y'all at the Wild Horse.
Mhm.
Wild Horse Saloon there.
Yeah.
One night you were down there, and I had liked Rat from before. I liked a few songs. We did quite a few of his back in the Clipper days and stuff. And you guys were great, man. It was rocking.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
It was
stuff.
it was a good band, and I'm always, very few times in my life have I been in a position to where I got to handpick the guys, and that was one of them. Of course, with his final approval,
Sure.
but he trusted me,
Yeah.
and that's another thing I was grateful to him for. He trusted me a great deal to find the right people.
One of the things that stuck out to me about you guys was it was the end of that one song that had the train beat, and you guys went into Black Dog. I mean, it stuck out to me. I was like, because you did the whole field and everything, and I was like, now that's badass.
Yeah, it was
You know?
old dirt road. We were just
Old Dirt Road,
we were just playing at rehearsal one day, and I just heard it in my head.
It was perfect.
I was like, "Hey, man, what if we do this at the end?" Rhett he was always so cool about it. So he just okay. he just okay. That's cool.
Well, it
He
stuck
was-
out to me.
Yeah, he was always cool about that stuff, man. And one of the things I really always appreciated about him too was his love for everything from bluegrass to heavy metal to traditional country to pop country to pop music in
Just
general.
a music fan.
He's just a music
Yeah.
fan and a music encyclopedia. That
Yeah.
boy knows as much as probably Billy Bob. And Billy Bob's like a walking encyclopedia
Yeah.
too. He's very, very knowledgeable about stuff. But Rhett, like, he knows some of the most wild, obscure stuff that you wouldn't think
Wow.
he would know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
he's very knowledgeable because of his love for it.
Sure,
you know?
sure. Anytime you got passion for something, you know about it. So, and then the Chestnut Diffie thing, and Tracy Lawrence. That was when my first exposure to you was when you
Yeah.
were with Tracy.
I can't recall years, so you'll have to bear with me there. But Jack Gavin, my buddy, who was the drummer in Charlie Daniels, who's one of my very favorite drummers and very, very close, dear friend for many years. Jack had left Charlie to go with Tracy. And there came a time that they needed to make a change over there. I don't know the specifics.
There were several times when Tracy needed to make a change over there.
True. So Jack called me up and he says, "Man, we're gonna get a new bass player." And he goes, "I'd really love it if you'd come out and play with us." Well, I had been working. I had an original rock thing that I really had sunk into, and I figured if there was ever a time in my life that I was gonna make this record and follow through and finish it, I had this timeline.
I helped you out on that too.
Yeah, you
I
sure
remember.
did.
That was cool.
And I just had this time allotted out of my life. while I was still single, and I was able to do it. And I just thought, if I don't take this 6-month period and finish this project that I started last year, it ain't gonna ever I'll never see the light of day. And I, at least for myself, I had to do that project. Musically, I felt like it was really strong. I was so glad that I did it.
Yeah.
We were lyrically challenged, we will say, but I always considered that band to be somewhat of a cross between a Van Halen and a Chili Peppers.
Who was playing in that band?
Tommy Hatcher played guitars, and Kenny Earl played drums.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Kenny
Very cool.
Earl,
Yeah.
Jr., and that played with Manowar, who was really a metal drummer, and he got labeled as a metal guy, but Kenny could groove, man.
I remember when we were talking about that project.
Pocket.
That was the wasn't that the boy? That
That played on the track that you played on.
Right.
Real
yeah,
deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Kenny. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
smoking good.
Oh, man, these segments just go too fast, man. It's not right. Well, we're about halfway through the list, Dave.
It's all right. We'll get it.
More with Dave when we come back.
It's awesome.
If only you just say you'll come. I don't have to be one way or the other. I want somebody, please tell me what the bluest skies in Texas are haunting me tonight, like the stars that fill the midnight sky. Her memory fills my mind, and she doesn't think that I can hear her. She tries.
We're back.
Dave Fowler. Dave on bass. I've got Cinderella on my list.
Oh man, I didn't really play in the band. I tell you how that happened. Those guys moved here
Kiefer too?
in the '90s. Kiefer lives here. He
Oh,
still
really?
lives here. Yeah. And I met them. This young kid who was a rock artist always wanted me to play on his stuff. Somehow he got tied in with Fred Corey, and Fred had a studio out in Hendersonville.
Right. Yeah, I knew Fred was here.
Yep. And somehow this kid hired me to play on a couple things that Fred was producing. And one of those things was a real industrial metal version of Night Songs that Tom wound up playing guitar on.
Oh, wow.
And then some of it was real hardcore, like it was real hardcore funk, but it had that metal edge to it. And I'll never forget this. One of my funniest.
The Statler brothers.
Yeah,
This is the depth of this guy's musico.
Oh man, but it was funny because it was just one of those things. You know how it is, man. Sometimes the sounds were right and it just felt right, and I was able to execute things that normally I probably couldn't have. I don't know where it came from, but it came. But Fred got so excited, and the track was pretty good even for me. You know, it was pretty dang good, and it felt right. It just everything sounded great, and this is one of my funniest things about Fred. And it sounded very Chili Pepperish. You know, because I was kind of into them at the time,
Sure,
and I was trying to cop that vibe into what this kid was doing.
Right.
And he goes, he's already got the name Flea, and he goes, and you're a country guy, we'll call you Tick. So I was like, oh, Fred,
We got to
okay.
give that legs, man.
Yeah.
It's the world knows. Dave Tick Fowler.
Yeah, and he says, he's already got Flea covered. Well, you're a country guy, so we'll call you Tick. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's awesome.
But that was how I got sort of into that, knowing those guys.
Right.
And then Fred had some a long weekend of clinics for Audio Technica at like Guitar Centers or something, and it was just going to be him and Jeff LaBar, and it was like a 15-minute piece of music,
Yeah.
seamless,
Sure.
that had Cinderella songs. And so I literally had to chart it out and have like 6 music stands, trying to, because it was hard to commit that to memory. And we only had a couple of rehearsals.
Right.
But I went out and did that with those guys,
Oh, very cool.
and it was a lot of fun. It was a
Yeah.
little stressful because the amount of music and the changes that were involved,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to play my best
Mm-hmm.
under those circumstances. It was a little strenuous because we didn't have as much prep time as I would have wanted. But sometimes you don't.
Right.
That's when you got to rise up and do
That's
it.
right.
Man. So,
Well, I'll tell you though, Dave, personally, that is one of the things that I've always thought that you were so awesome at was your versatility on that instrument. Because I mean, as a guitar player, it's pretty easy to be inspired by Eddie Van Halen than to be inspired by Brett Mason. So you kind of naturally will gravitate to playing that kind, to all kinds of stuff.
Well,
But on the bass, it's because I mean on the guitar, it's still basically coming from the same school. It's a complete
true.
different head trip, as you go from genre to genre on the bass. I mean, like when you're playing, Flowers on the Wall, compared to like a Racer X or something like that, like a Billy Sheehan thing, it's like it's apples and oranges, and you move seamlessly through it all, which is really that's something else, man. I admire that about
well,
you.
I really appreciate that. It's and really all that stems from, to tell you the honest truth, guys, is when we grew up, if we couldn't play a lot of different kinds of music, we couldn't work.
Yeah,
That's
you weren't
right.
working.
And I was in a
Absolutely.
band that played 6 nights a week, went to Florida in the summer and Canada in the winter, complete opposite of how you should do it. $150 a week, cash.
Cash.
But that taught me, it was like people say about the Marines, because I love the American military. And I'm reading a Navy SEAL book right now about raising men. It's a Navy SEAL, and how he correlates that to raising his son with good standards.
Yes.
So, and I completely lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
The different styles. That
Yeah.
we had to play. in our
Yeah.
era.
So it just came from necessity.
But you don't see that a lot on the bass, though. I mean,
Well-
I know there's guys that can cop it. Because like with us, it was Conway, Prince, Def Leppard. You had to play it all. But Monty does a good job of getting around and all that stuff. But I mean, to find like a dude that is just a badass slapper, to have him play the Grand Tour or something is just hard.
Well, that
and for you to be, I mean, is that you make it believable. That's the point I'm trying to make. You make each genre believable.
that stems from respecting the music. Because I was downtown, and I'm not going to call any names, but I was downtown one night and I passed by the Blues and Boogie Bar, and they were playing Black and Black. They were playing Back in Black, and the bass player was playing funk all over. I wanted to go in there and take the bass from him and hit him over the head with it.
Respecting the music.
Oh, come
Because
on now,
if you and I do, I genuinely, I'm grateful for the gifts that I've been given, and am able to deliver them in the capacity that I can. But when I hear a George Jones song, I want to play it true to that record. If I hear a Johnny Paycheck song, I want to play it true to the record. If I play a Van Halen song, I want to honor what Michael did on it.
Absolutely,
If I
yeah.
play, within the realm of what I'm able to do, I want to do it to the best of my ability, but I want to honor what the bass player did on it. And if I have the leeway to embellish it a little bit with my own thing, I always enjoy that, but I really want to try to be honorable to the part that was there, because that's what made it a hit record to start with. So you just kind of respect what it is.
And the music salutes you for it.
Well,
As do the
it's-
musicians.
Yes.
Well, to fit in a band, man, I've always been a band guy. I've never been that guy that wanted to do a solo thing. It's all about songs for me. And I learned to play songs. And that's where it all starts, man.
Very cool.
Respect the music.
Yeah, exactly.
Dolly. How about Dolly?
Man, I only got into that camp because of Kent Wells. And I there again, I struggle with timelines because everything starts to run together. But
You
Kent,
carried a lot over in that camp, though. You were.
well, I mainly tour managed in that camp. It was there was a lot going on over there, as you would imagine, with her, because she's a worldwide icon.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll never say Dolly and somebody go, Dolly who?
Dolly who?
Yeah,
no.
that'll never happen.
No.
Kent was sweet enough. They had cut. She had cut with Tommy James, Crimson and Clover, and they had cut it bluegrass. Time.
That darn bell.
There's just not enough
No,
time.
no. Here we go, though. When we come back, all about Dolly. Dolly and Dave.
Dave.
All right.
There's no one else I need but me. My love was locked and you found the key. Girl, you drive me crazy, you do. I'm still tripping and falling for you.
Crimson and love that part of that Tommy James.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that? You only heard the Joan Jett one, right?
Yeah, it's on hers, on her version. But they, as I was saying, yeah, they cut it bluegrass. And Kent, as the producer, wanted electric bass on it. So he said, man, he calls me up, he says, how your pick skills? I said, oh, they're okay. They're not great. He goes, man, you want to come in and play on a Dolly record? And I was like, let me think about that. Sure. And so Kent Wells has been a very dear friend for a lot of years. And I got to do that because of him, you know. And there was nobody in the studio but he and I, because the track was already done. And it was one of the final things I think they were finishing for the record at that time. And just went in and did it. And that kind of started, you know. And then Kent talked to me about maybe touring with him, but I don't play upright. And he said, well, man, just get one of those electric uprights and put dots on it. Play with us. And I was like, well, man, I don't, you know. I'm not real comfortable with that. You either play upright or you don't. and I love guys who play it well. I really dig it, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm not, to be really brutally frank, I'm not going to put the time in because I don't have enough of an outlet, not even to play with somebody like her. I'm just not going to do it.
Sure.
So that particular year, she was doing a House of Blues tour sponsored by the House of Blues, played all those. So I got in to be basically I think my correct title was band coordinator, which was a tour manager for the band for 11 musicians.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, but it was a good challenge. I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't take anything for the experience. Thanks to Kent, I got to do that. And it came at a time I really needed the money. I needed the job. And as demanding as it was, I was up for it. And I try to stay fairly organized and, you know, and that pushed me to another level of that.
Sure.
So, and it wound up leading to going to Europe a few times with her, which was a real treat.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet they just love her over there.
It was like going with Elvis.
Wow.
No lie.
I saw that I can't remember where it was, but it was they have those huge festivals over there, and it was, I can't remember, was it Glastonbury or something like that? Did you guys do Glastonbury?
Yes.
And it
not
was
the
sea.
tour I did, but one of my favorite things I have, and maybe I can dig it out and send it to you to go on with this, but I have a DVD of Dolly singing Happy Birthday to Me on stage in a soccer stadium. I have a DVD of it somewhere, and I really should find that because that's like priceless.
Yeah. That is priceless.
And yeah, Dolly's an amazing person. I think, and I don't know her. She knows me. I know her, but we're not hangout buddies or anything. But from what I can tell, Dolly really tries to be all things to all people as she can, you know. But you got to understand, she's Dolly. It's a lot of demands placed on her time and her attention, and she really does try.
I mean, the word icon is thrown around so much, but she truly
is.
Truly is an icon.
And she would always cater in Cracker Barrel for rehearsals.
Wow. She's like the country Tina Turner, you know.
In a sense, yeah,
I mean,
man.
as
And she cares about if everybody's had something to eat, man. I mean, she wants you to be fed, you know.
Yeah.
She's very much like a mom.
Wow.
You know, she just likes to
Cares about her people.
She cares about her people. She
That's
does.
very cool.
And it was great. I loved the time that I had there. Very grateful for that.
That's cool. And then we had a couple more stops. We got Colin Ray. You were with Colin for a bit.
I became Colin's personal manager after a couple of years, and
you know this band's looking for a manager too. Just
well, let's talk, man.
Okay,
let's talk. Let's talk, man. But we took over his management, my brother and I, and we were able to double his income over a 3-year period, and it was hard. We worked really hard, man, and we had to bow up, as you say, and get after it. And but we did, and we did a lot of good things together. But as those relationships do, they ran their course.
Sure.
And Colin came to me one day and he goes, "Man," he said, "I just feel like we fired all our bullets, and I think it's time for me to move on." And what can you say? Thank you for the opportunity you gave me. We made some good money together. We went through the passing of his granddaughter that was sick with him, and so we shed some tears. We laughed a lot.
Sure.
We argued and fussed at each other sometimes. But all in all, it comes with all that, you know. You sign up for it.
Sure.
But I'll always be grateful to Colin for that.
The interesting thing, though, is I remember, during that time, Colin was making a footprint again and had a pretty big, and I don't know if it's because you're not there anymore, but he doesn't seem to be.
Well, I don't. I was just striving for the social media and the things that were coming into focus at that time. We were just really pushing all that stuff, and man, he can sing. He can still sing, dude. He ain't missed nothing with that concern. But the good thing with Collins, he's never been a druggie. He's never been a drinker. Right. He gets rest, and those are crucial to a singer. Man,
absolutely.
You can't show up and sing like that cat with no rest.
You can sure tell the ones that have taken care of it.
He can still cut it, dude. I just played a thing in a house band with him. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I say it was last year. But he stepped right up there, dude, and he'll make a believer out of you all over again.
Right, yeah.
We just saw him last year or the year before.
2016.
Was it that long ago? I see that, right?
Yeah, he
co-host.
We were up for a award at the Inspirational Country Music Awards, and he was a co-host there, and he got out and
he sang,
did his thing, and like, dang, that boy still.
Yeah, he can cut it, dude.
Spot on, man. Just
for sure.
Flawless.
Yeah, man.
So these days, what you got going on these days? Like as of right now?
Well, I work with Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, I missed the whole Billy Bob thing. I was getting to the Artimus thing. That was the last time I saw you. Was the Billy Bob thing?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You showed us such hospitality. You took us all in. We got to meet Billy Bob. He took us in there.
Well, I've been working with his band. They only are able to tour usually once a year, but man, it's hardcore. Like we'll go out for 65 days and work 58 out of them.
Yeah.
And I tour manage and play on that one.
You know what else was wild about that one? we were on the we were at it was a fair somewhere, right? And
Minnesota, wasn't it?
that's right. And Alabama was playing. Billy Bob was there, and he brought us. And Frank Zappa's daughter is just hanging out, taking pictures. I mean, that's the backstage. It's like, okay, now this is the backstages that you hear about. You know, there's Billy Bob, there's
Diva Zappa.
Diva Zappa. We're like, well, dang, ours are not like that. well, and when we come back, we'll talk a little more about Billy Bob and then the Artimus Pyle Band. We got
Sounds
going on
good,
now.
man.
That's right. We're gonna get our redneck pride on with that Artemis stuff.
Yeah, man.
My brain is just spinning with this guy. Awesome stuff.
Oh, what's going on? Kimo Forrest here, the group Cash Creek.
It's so what an unlikely angel sacrificing all she can.
Guitar player for Alabama. And I'm running Ohana Music Group Studios in Nashville. So, when you get into 3 businesses like that, there's a lot of stuff to keep up with, and sometimes you're just, oh my gosh, this 20-hour day is going to kill me. When that happens, oh yes, look at that. It's beautiful, isn't it? Bulletproof. Makes you feel bulletproof. Made right here in the United States of America. Doesn't get any better than that, folks. Get your bulletproof today.
Dave. Dave Fowler.
Let's talk.
I gotta take a deep breath because I'm just sweating from all this information.
Well, now we're getting to Billy
Me
Bob
too.
Thornton. Man, we're getting to Billy Bob now.
Billy Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
this is Billy Bob, and we're getting to the meat of the party now.
Yeah.
Tell us
On the
about
road with Billy Bob Thornton.
He's you know, I've been a Billy Bob fan for a long time. Obviously, Sling Blade was one of my very favorite movies.
Absolutely.
And
Oft quoted.
and I got to meet him through Micah Roberts. You know Micah
Yeah.
that
Oh,
sings
yeah.
with Toby. And at the time, she was married to Jeff Moore, who was George Jones' nephew, who was an aspiring rock artist. And I had played on his record. In Mexico, he got signed to an American label that was based in Mexico. It's kind of hard to follow, but very extremely well funded. So Micah had been singing on the road with Billy Bob, and then when Jeff made his record in Mexico, they were going to do a music video, and he had Micah ask Billy would he direct his first ever music video, and he says, well, I don't know, let me hear the song. So he heard the song and he liked the song, so he agreed to do it. And then Jeff and Mike have been great friends to me through the years, to the point to where they were going to shoot the video in Los Angeles, like on the top of a building or something. Unfortunately, the album and all that never saw the light of day. It all got folded up before it ever got out there.
Now, this
So-
one of those stories.
Yeah, and so they were going to shoot the music video in L.A., and something happened and I couldn't get there on the scheduled date. And Jeff says, well, we're not going to shoot it until Dave gets here. So he had Billy Bob and everybody change their schedule for a couple of days till I could get there, which meant the world to me.
Sure.
Because I wanted to do it, you know.
Right.
That's where I met Billy. And we just kind of got to know each other a little bit. And then I don't even remember how, but we maintained staying in touch. And then, lo and behold, years later, I get a call at 1 a.m. My phone's buzzing on my nightstand. I'm still married at the time. And I'm like, it's probably one of my drunk buddies, you know. So I just blew it off. So about the third time it rings, I'm like, well, I better, something might be wrong with my parents or something, you know. I better see what's going on. I pick it up, and it's J.D. Andrew, Billy's right-hand guy. Dave, we just played the Franklin Theater. Got to send our bass player home. Firing our bass player. What are you doing for the next 3 weeks, and can you be in Montgomery, Alabama tomorrow? At 5 o'clock for sound check, we're opening for ZZ Top. But these are the kind of calls you can get.
That's right.
And at that hour. And I'm like, well,
Answer that phone.
so I'm like, well, here's your chance. You know, you're going to, you know, and he's got to know, because if he doesn't, and I only got that opportunity. I already knew Billy, but he'd never worked with me in any musical capacity. He didn't know if I could play or nothing. Steve Arnold, who played with Marty Stewart, who's a very dear friend of mine.
Right.
Steve had been Billy's bass player. Well, they call Steve. Well, he had his business and his landscaping business, and he had his own barrage of stuff going on.
He said, call Dave.
And he said, man, he goes, I can't do it, guys. He said, but call Dave. And that was his next call. And you know how it is, guys. You get that call, you got to give an answer. It doesn't matter if it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
So I'm looking there, and my wife is asleep, and we've got a new baby boy. And so you can imagine breakfast the next morning. By the way, honey, I'll be leaving at noon for 3 weeks. But there again, it was like the Dolly thing. It came along at a time we really needed the money.
Sure.
We really needed it. It was like a godsend.
Yeah.
So I basically called a buddy of mine the next morning, said, hey, dude, can you drive me down there and drop me off to the bus? And I learned the show on the way. I charted it out, and Billy was really skeptical. He didn't know, what to do. He was like, well, we're going to have Teddy Andreatis is the keyboard player. Teddy played with Alice Cooper and Guns N' Roses. And he says, we're just going to have Teddy kick bass with his left hand tonight. He goes, you just watch and see. And Tom Mayhew was the tour manager at that time, and Tom was Axl Rose's right-hand guy. And I said, well, I feel like I can do it, because it's pretty simple music. And the more simple you play Billy's music, the better he likes it. He don't want it to be too polished. Right. He's like, we don't want to rehearse. We'll sound too good, because he likes that raw looseness thing. That's his thing, and that's what he digs. And he wants it to be a little loose here and there. So I said, well, I could probably do it. And Tom Mayhew, the tour manager, stepped in. He goes, look, Billy, he goes, come out to front of the house with me. Dave, play 2 songs with him. Billy, you like what you hear? Let him play tonight. And if you don't, Dave sit aside. I said, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. So we went out front. I pulled up my charts and set up, played 2 songs, and Billy came back, and he's grinning ear to ear. He's like, we'll be fine. Yeah. You can play. What
a attaboy. That feels good, doesn't it? Especially
it was, fortunately, it was very, very simple music, and he wants it played simple, especially in the low end. Yeah. And that began what has become one of my best friendships. Billy is if I texted him right now, unless he's on set, he'll get right back to me, man, or he'll say, hey, man, you okay? Or he'll call me sometimes out of the blue just to share funny stuff,
That's very cool.
It's awesome.
But that's how that started.
Dave,
crazy.
You're the cat, man.
No, I'm not the cat. I've just been. It's funny how when you look back at things, how things fall into place and how you meet people, and then you begin to understand why you met this person and how you met that one and why that one led to this.
And then you wonder why we ever worry.
Yeah.
When you look back at the road
true,
travel,
man.
you're like, it's all figured out.
It's human nature, man. It's just human nature.
Well, the Lord has a way of doing that.
He sure does.
He has never failed me. He's never. It's just you just pointed it out. It's just why worry? It'll all somehow find its way. Just suit up, show up, and do the next right thing.
Do the next right thing.
And everything else will work.
So Artimus Pyle Band.
Yeah, man.
Doing that Skynyrd stuff.
Yeah. Artimus kind of semi-retired in my hometown back in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And he wandered into a music store. One of my buddies that I grew up with owns a music store back there, and they had started the band. And they had asked me a couple of times about joining the band, but the timing didn't line up for them or me. And finally, their bass player, Tony Black, took the gig with Marshall Tucker. So they called, and he was like, man, what are you doing for the next couple of months? Can you at least fill in? And would you like to come try it? So in my mind, I was like, it's Skynyrd, so how hard can it be? Sure, man. I'll do it. Sweet Home Alabama, no problem. Yeah, I'll do it. And then when I started diving into the nuts and bolts, as we were talking off camera, man, I actually got scared. I actually called Jerry Lida, and I was like, dude, I'm not sure I'm the right guy for this. It's such a
Does
departure.
he want, like, the record?
Yeah. And they did. These boys strive hard for that. So it was...
That pizza. Somebody's going to have to eat that pizza.
We're going to have to.
Okay. Here we
gotta have one more.
We got to have one more segment
one
at
more.
least. At least one more segment, Dave.
man.
Don't go anywhere.
Can't leave us hanging on Skynyrd like
We
that.
won't. We'll do it.
Get back in here, boy.
I'm coming.
Doing producer job today. All right, man.
Back to it.
Back to Dave Fowler, Artimus Pyle Band.
Yep. So anyway, I started, when I first took that gig, like I said, it was like, well, it's Skynyrd, how hard will it be? And it was pretty intimidating after you start really getting into that music. You really begin to understand the gifts that those guys had. They really did. That music is put together in a fashion that you can't fathom until you start breaking it down and learning your parts. And they're not easy.
Yeah.
It ain't your run-of-the-mill stuff.
I kind of got the impression, too, watching that last documentary on him, that real long one, that, it was definitely the pieces and the parts that came together.
And to
that
stay true to
made
the
that
music, for me, we've played some gigs together, so you kind of my playing style. I had to completely redo my playing style. I would watch footage of Leon and how he played. He'd play with a pick, and he'd play up on the neck. Right. So I wanted to stay as true to that as I could. And I've never, dare I say, I've never been a Fender bass guy. I've always played Spectres, and Music Man Stingrays have been my staple basses, my money earners for a long time. And so I tried playing the Spectre on this gig.
Just wasn't cutting it, huh?
Just don't. It's not the sound. It's an Ampeg SVT and a Fender bass.
Is that what you're playing now?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And
Now
then
that's respect to the music.
I know.
well, it was hard, man, because not only did I have to learn parts that were very unfamiliar to me from a playing standpoint, I had to play them in a completely different position.
I've never seen you with any other bass other than the Spectres.
Well, exactly. But I got into Fender P's and J's, played jazz basses for a good while, and then I somehow wound up with a matching set with a Seafoam Green Sparkle P bass, custom shop, and a jazz bass. Ooh. So I took them out, and I was like, okay, this will be cool. I'll play the jazz I told the tech, I said, I'll play the jazz first half of the show and then bring me the P bass. And I'll play it on a couple of songs and I'll take the jazz bass back.
Yeah.
So I did that, and jazz bass sounded, of course, wonderful.
Yeah.
Then they brought the P out, and the precisions have such a girth,
Right.
such a roundness, such a
Right.
fatness. I was like, oh my God, I can't play the jazz bass.
You can't.
Tech was like, he was over there going, it's a jazz bass. I was like, no, just hold on to that. Dude, I came home, and about 2 weeks later, I had several super nice custom shop jazz bass, sold them all,
Really?
and went to straight P basses. And if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be playing strictly P basses on a gig, I'd be like, yeah, you're crazy.
Right,
That
right.
would never happen. But yeah, it's
Again, the theme for the day and the theme for your success: respect the music, man.
well, you just try to do what was there to start with. You're just trying to duplicate that, you know. And after talking to Artimus, I said, what did Leon like? Fender Precisions. That were his favorite.
Yeah.
That was his favorite. He played jazz basses and he played Thunderbirds and played other stuff. P bass. He loved Fender Precisions.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a real treat to play with Artimus. I've
How
really
cool.
grown to love him.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's been through a lot, as you know.
Well, that's like I'll tell Monty. I'm like, he was on the darn plane.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, and then you said the other night that he had been in 3 plane crashes.
3 plane crashes, multiple car wrecks, and motorcycle accidents. If you look hard, there's a picture of him on the internet. I have it on my phone. Of him in traction with, like, dude, I bet there's 100 pins in his leg.
Wow.
Because from here, I think it was from like here down, he broke one leg in 21 places on a motorcycle.
20.
Yeah. So he's been through so much trauma and lived.
Yeah.
As like I told him one day, I was like, dude, you got to think God still has a pretty serious purpose for you. After all that it's like you got like more than 9 lives, dude. And I'll tell you an interesting fact about him that he's very open about. At the height of Skynyrd, I don't remember what year, maybe it was 75, 76, when they were on fire, man. They'd been opening for the Stones and had been through all that. But he moved to Jerusalem, Israel, and lived in King David's castle to study Old Testament
Wow.
with the Hebrew.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the middle
Yeah,
of all that.
In the middle of all that. dude.
Wow.
He's an interesting guy,
He
man.
is an interesting cat.
And I love Artimus. He's a very good soul.
I'll tell
He
you too.
really
I
is,
think
man.
the fact that you two are working together, it really shows the power of music, because there's so many. I mean, without diving too deep into it, I know where the two of you stand on certain things, and you guys are like polar opposites, but
yeah.
you meet at the music,
Oh, yeah,
which is so
exactly.
cool. You know,
Yes, it is. He's an interesting guy, and I've really grown to love him. He's so good to the fans.
Yeah.
He's so good to the fans, man. I mean, that's both a good and a bad problem. Bad in that when we do the autograph line at the end of the night, we all go out, but everybody obviously wants to see him.
right.
And he will take mega time with everybody, and we wind up being there for 2 hours. But that's a good quality,
Yeah.
But it's I love, my favorite thing to play with him is Saturday Night Special.
Oh, man,
That
that's
one
my
is
favorite song of
just-
theirs too.
It's so awesome because all the sounds are happening and
What a great drum part in that song too.
yeah. And I was just
Very
about to
intense.
say, when you start playing that music with him,
Yeah.
you can play it with anybody else, but when you play it with him, it gives you a complete new respect and understanding for how his drumming shaped the sound of the band. And you wouldn't, or I don't think about it as a normal thought, at how a drummer could shape the sound of a band until I was in that moment with him and playing.
Especially on that song too.
Especially on, that was the first song he ever recorded with Skynyrd.
Really.
Yep.
It's such a unique part, and
Yeah.
because it's like, all the things that he could have done there, that was what he chose to play, and you can't hear it any other way now. You know, it is.
No, it doesn't. And if you, and it's,
I mean, all that hat stuff and everything
Oh,
in
yeah.
there, it's got to be there.
it's got to be there. It's got to be placed right, and it's got to sound
How
right.
cool too, playing with the genuine article. I mean,
Yeah.
especially someone like you who digs into the music,
Yeah.
and wants to bring to life those old records and
Yeah.
stuff. To be there with the dude that was doing it, very cool.
Man.
He's something else, man. He's a great cat. A lot of history with that dude, you know.
Yeah.
And he loves telling stories about Alan and everybody. And he roomed with Ronnie a lot, so
Really?
he was tight. He and Ronnie were real tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That band though, as far as guitar players are concerned, I know they've become, you know, the voice of the rednecks, and you know, I mean, just the Skynyrd, you know, it's such Freebird, it's such a cliche, but I mean, what the guitar players that were in that band, for a guitar player coming up, just, you know, you pick any song on any record, and I mean, and to know that they were just, you know.
They were just kids, dude.
Yeah.
They were like 21 years old when
And
they were
just
creating those parts.
The music that was in, I mean, those guitar parts, you know, I kind of liken it to the Eagles parts too, you know, where those, you've got to play those notes. You've got to play
They have
those things.
to be there or it's not right. Dude.
Because they were, that's it. They put the stamp on it and said that's it.
Yeah, it was amazing at how that music was put together and the age they were and all those stories that he's told me about, you know, the Hell House.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would literally show up just like a job. They'd show up 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, be there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, show up every day. And Artimus said when, you know, they'd be working out guitar parts, I'd go down and fish. They'd go, Artimus, come on by. Yeah. And then they'd work out the parts, and then they'd sit down there and play them. And
I loved that last documentary because they talked about the Hell House and all that stuff, and how cool.
yeah, well, we'll make sure and get him up here.
That'll be so awesome.
So you can sit down with him.
Well, you're going to figure heavily in this next incarnation of this show when we start jamming, when we start sitting around picking and stuff.
Well, thank you, man. I would be honored to do it. I really would.
Dave Fowler, thank you,
Thank you,
buddy,
man.
for being here.
Thank you,
man.
guys, Monty. I appreciate you guys.
We'll be back.
Jeez. Oh, hey. I was supposed to do something. I should have had a bulletproof energy drink. I'd be wide awake and ready to tell you all about bulletproof energy drinks. These guys right here, not only will it pick you up, get you popping, but they give 5 cents of every can to support our American military veterans. So, I mean, that's a win-win all the way around. Bulletproof energy drinks. Get you some.
There you go, bud. There you go. He's just a bass player, man. Just an old bass player.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, we just zipped through just cliff notes of his life. My goodness.
Yeah. It's pretty thick.
Yeah, you can feel it just sitting next to him, man. It's just, you know.
Just a good dude, too, man.
Just that energy. It's,
Yep, keeping him young. Yeah, Dave, he's done tons. Be so cool if he can get Billy Sheehan on here.
come on. Come on.
Yeah, fun stuff.
That was awesome.
That was a good time. Yeah,
That was awesome. What a great dude.
It's just story time around here these days. Boy, our guests have just been so full of stories. We've had some rich guests.
I hope y'all are enjoying it because I was just soaking that up,
Yeah.
man. Just soaking it up.
Well, it's because
That's-
you're a bass
that's
player, too.
beautiful.
You're a bass player.
It's not about that. It's about old school respect the music, man.
Absolutely.
As it should be.
He came out when I was still with John Michael. He came out and subbed a weekend. And man, I mean, from the moment he got on the bus, he had those headphones on. He was listening to all that stuff and wanting it to be just right. And You swore he'd been there the whole time.
Yeah. Right.
And John's music always covers such a wide gamut, you know.
Right.
I mean, from soul to I Swear, and
Right.
you know, just a broad palette of sounds, and yeah.
Right. I know it. I remember doing that one show. That was one of the best times I've ever had.
And you're in the video.
Yeah, we did the video. Yeah. It was very cool.
Yeah.
But learn it.
Yeah.
Learn it.
Learn the songs.
I did my best to
You
do
killed
diligence
it.
to it.
You
But
killed it, man. Remember they offered you the gig. You said no.
no, I did not say no. I said, yeah, but I can't be here. I have to be in California now, but I can do the back and forth. And they're, well, yeah, that's a little too hard to manage. So,
Yeah. Well, they saw what was up ahead because it does. It gets.
yeah. And I totally understand that. It's like, I would love to do it, but, you know, commitments where I was. Wouldn't have been allowed at the time. So.
Yeah.
And
But
it's,
the time is right now, huh?
time is right
I mean,
now.
but just one story that I had from those days. I remember when John put out that Christmas thing, the Christmas album, you know, and of course Brent Mason playing all of that jazz stuff on the albums, you know, because it was all jazz, just ridiculous guitar playing. And I remember being at home, and Marty, the tour manager, drummer, called and said, well, can you be down at the Wild Horse Saloon here at 3 o'clock? And this was like 11 in the morning.
One of those calls.
And it was going to be televised. It was televised on Nashville Network at the time, back in the TNN. You know,
Trying to cover Brett Mason's
we didn't even have
jazz.
the record wasn't even out yet. And then it was like, yeah, so you know, we're back to listen to the CD, and it's just and the opening part of "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas." It's just this ridiculous guitar part, and it opens the whole thing. And that was the first song he was going to do, and the camera blocking and everything that on me. It was fantastic. That's the kind of stuff, you know. It's like right here. Oh, exactly.
You did it.
I did it.
Props to you, man.
Yeah, but I mean,
Brass cojones.
I did not do what Brent did. I did, you know, at those moments you got to kind of think, okay, if I was on the session, what would I have played? You know, and that's pretty much, you try to catch the spirit of it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Catch the spirit of it if you can't catch the actual
Right. And it
piece.
It wasn't
note
that
for
bad.
note.
Yeah,
Yeah, forget it.
yeah.
I can't do that.
mean, we didn't have a copy of it. It was
That's
just
hysterical.
Oh man, it was so funny. So yeah, you would not have been able to. I just remembered that story. So
That's hysterical.
Monty, Tim Russlow.
Yes. Ruslow's coming to the club.
Yes. Our next Cass Creek Club. Man, we're just
Loving it. Loving it.
man, we've just
loving
been
it.
so blessed, man.
Yep. Yep. It's awesome.
I'm excited to do those songs. We did. Oh, I hope he does that one. We don't know what we're doing yet, but yeah. Our Cadillac Ranchers, we did kick a little every night.
Yeah, you bet.
6 nights a week.
Yep.
And
I bet Amy's back in Austin.
yeah. And then, of course, God bless Texas had to do that one. Did we do What Might Have Been too?
Oh yeah.
Rob sang that one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What might have been.
Yep.
Yep. So come on out. October 2nd, right?
That's the date.
That's
Yep.
it.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, man. And everybody that has gone to our first two have just, I mean, rave reviews. It's just been awesome. RT's coming back for that one too.
We're
right?
having a good time. Yeah, we got RT.
remember.
We got Mercy Shine making their debut.
Mercy Shine making their
Yeah, man.
debut.
We got the Rollers.
Rollers.
Of course, Jamie.
Rollers.
Jamie's still.
I'm really worried about Mercy Shine.
Oh, boys are gonna rock it. Boys are gonna rock it. No, you're not.
I'm worried that people are going to like them more than us.
I'm more worried about us than anybody else.
I know.
Because we're worried about all their songs, so we worry about learning their songs and getting them right, and forget about our stuff.
And then Acoustic Mayhem the next night.
Yes, Acoustic Mayhem comes back to the sidelines Thursday night, the 3rd.
This Saturday, Pamtillis.
Yep, coming up.
Yeah.
The amazing Pamtillis trio.
Yeah.
And we get to open.
I haven't heard the trio thing, but I've always been a fan. I worked with Pam. She had to cancel a show and she still paid us.
Old school, man.
Man, that was good.
Old school.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to run out of time, Bo. Dave Fowler.
Dave Fowler.
What a
That's a good show.
amazingly
That's a good time.
Wonderful man. Human being, musician, just
Yep. It's got great energy, huh?
huge.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, that the Billy Bob Thornton backstage experience that we had, it really was like, because I've always laughed because, you see Hollywood depictions of that stuff, and it's never been like that in my career. Anywhere I've ever been, maybe I just playing with the wrong guys or whatever.
Our green rooms are usually the toilets.
I know exactly, but it's never been like, hey, look, there's Truman Capote or or what's Reagan doing here? I mean, it's like that. But Billy Bob's was like that, and there were some other people that we weren't supposed to say who was there, and it was like, wow, that was probably one of the coolest backstages. Oh, there we go.
Gotta go. See you guys. Catch you on the next one.